Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Women Platform on Hidayat TV. And this is your host, Sister Zeenat. With me, I have a very special guest from United States of America, sister who's even a scholar. That is Sister Maryam MIDL. So, sister, could you please give introduction about yourself? Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum assalam. Assalamu alaikum to all the viewers. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. My name is Maryam MIDL. I was raised in America. I'm from California. I graduated from California Polytechnic University, Cal Poly Pomona, with a degree in accounting, and I've been studying in the Hawza for the past several years. Since 2014, I've studied at Jamaat al-Zahra, and my major is in Islamic philosophy. So going back to your question, the question was, how do we deal with peer pressure? So it's really important that when we are dealing with, that when we're living in the West, is that we have a good circle of friends, because they affect who we are and how we act. And so if you have good friends around you, that really does help to support your iman and your faith. And so at the very least, even if they aren't practicing Muslims, at least they respect your faith. They don't make fun of it. Because if they make fun of it and belittle you, then that definitely hinders and it makes it difficult to practice. So it's really important to have people who are supportive of your faith. And I think it's like we have, like at Cal Poly, we had an MSA. So I would try to be around MSA students and also other Muslims who were on campus. So that
you had the Muslim community.
Yeah, we had the Muslim community. We also had our masjid. So it just depends. I mean, I know every place is different of the community. Some places they have Islamic centers. Some places have masjids. Some places have Muslim clubs or TMAs. I think it's Saglay Muslim Association. So it just depends on where you are. So it really does help to be around Muslim practicing. Muslims that practice, that does help, and even if they're not Muslim, I remember when I was taking a class at university, I had a friend. She was Christian, but she was a very practicing Christian. And I remember her telling me of how when she had met her to-be husband at the time in a church, and I remember her telling me that that they weren't together physically until after they got married, and how many people had told her that this is such an odd thing. Yes, okay. An odd thing. And she was telling me, and I completely understood where she was coming from, and it was actually nice to have her around, because she understood my faith and I understood hers, and we both respected each other for it. So it actually, and she would actually dress modestly, so as a Christian. So I was really proud of her for her to practice her faith in that way, and she also respected mine. So there are people like that, So it does help to have people like that, and to have support groups like that.
Very nice. Yeah. So basically what you're saying is that company makes a man. Yeah. So choose good friends who can encourage you and not demotivate you. Because I have an experience where I had a friend, but not a bad intention, not at all a bad intention. But they used to say your heart has to be beautiful, Zeenat. You're a nice girl. Even if you take off your hijab for your job, cause it's going to be all right. Because they don't understand hijab. They did not, and they did not have the bad motives for me. So I understood that it's very important to be around good friends. And when I had a very good Christian friends, this is what she was always modestly there, and we modestly dressed, and we got along with each other because of the ideologies. Yeah. She was a practicing Christian, I was a practicing Muslim, and we became like best friends. And that was the beautiful experience. So what you're saying is that how to deal with peer pressures when deciding to wear your hijab. Your peer pressure can be your companion, your friend, who can tell you to take off your hijab. So have a good company, be around so that your faith can be strong. Yeah. Or yourself, keep reading the Holy Quran with the meaning. Yeah. That would be a strong support. Or your family, because usually people get out of the houses, go to a different city or state to study, right? Yeah. Life is different in the Western countries. Pay their own fees, and also you can have all kind of friends to be within the society. So how do we develop support circles when choosing to wear it?
Again, it goes back to finding Muslim groups, right? So I remember when my sister, she went to UCLA. So it was interesting, like, she wasn't in the dorms, but they had like they had apartments close to university, and so she roomed with other Muslim girls, and so she had that in her own, like, you know, circle of, like, she lived with other Muslim girls, and they had the MSA. They also had, I think, TMA, if I'm not mistaken. And so they, for example, I remember once a week they would have like a tafsir class, and so they had, you know, and they would do Jamaat prayers together on campus, and so they had that, you know, they had that Muslim support circle. And so, and if you can't, and sometimes this happens where, like, you're living in a place where there's not that many Muslims.
Yeah.
But the nice thing with today is that we have, you know, our phones and our laptops, and we can connect with people via online. So even if, and especially with COVID, and most people are stuck at home anyway, but you can connect with people via online. It doesn't have to be, I have friends in Lebanon who, like, I talk to, like, on every once in a while. So, like, you can always talk to people, like, from all over the phone, and that's still a good support system. I mean, you can always video chat them or call them. So it's important. Like, there's so many different ways to connect with people in today's age.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is that keep your company with the faithful people, even if it's a non-Muslim person. You know, have a strong faith. Try to motivate yourself through Quran and books and company, and means watching right thing, definitely. So being a youth, being in school, was there any kind of, like, bullying, being a Muslim in headscarf?
I personally, I don't think I've really experienced that. Maybe because I lived in California. In California, people tend to be more liberal there and more open-minded. So at school, I did experience once in a classroom where I was giving a presentation, and I think I said something where, like, Islam doesn't support terrorism, and I think the teacher actually deducted some from my grade from that. But things like that happen, unfortunately, and it's important to know your rights and to know so depending on where you live, there's certain laws, right? So in America, it's you're allowed to practice whatever religion. You have freedom of religion, and so it's really important to know that. So it's important to know that, because when you know that, then you can stand up for yourself and practice what you believe in. I remember I had a friend, so she was a surgeon, and I know she was practicing and in Michigan at the time. I think she was doing a rotation there, and she was the head surgeon. And the nurse there told her before the surgery that you can't wear your hijab. You have to take off your scarf. It's like the rules or whatever. And she said she disagreed. She's like, I'm not taking that off. And she stood up for herself. And so what happened after that situation is that she ended up writing a letter with her friends who are lawyers, and complaining about the situation that they had such a rule at the hospital, and they ended up changing the rule. And so it was interesting because after that, her friend, there were nurses who worked at the hospital who put on hijab after that. They wanted to wear hijab at their work, but they weren't able to.
Oh my God.
And so she was able to change the rules at the hospital.
So many people.
Yeah, so, like, it's not just if you stand up for your own rights, you might be a pathway for other people to also practice it.
100 more people.
So it's really important. Like, it's important to understand, like, what are our rights and stand up for it. No, talk to a lawyer. Talk to, like, I know CARE. It's a group where they do legal stuff
CAIRE.
Yes. So they do, they work on legal stuff for Muslims in America, and so it's really important. Like, when your rights are being challenged, like, no, stand up for your rights. We have rights, and it's important. It's part of who you are, practicing your faith. So practicing that and standing up for your right and fighting for it is important. And you'll also open up the way for so many other Muslims who want to practice and make it easier. For example, I know, so when I mentioned that last time where I would, like, email people, like, ahead of time, letting them know I can't handshake, then they know from then on that a Muslim woman can't give a handshake to a non-mahram, right?
Oh my gosh.
So it makes it easier for other Muslims, so that they have, like, they already know that you're educating other people of what your religion tells you, and so it makes it so much easier for the other Muslims. So you're opening up the gateway for other people to practice their religion. We have to be the starters of
Yes, very nicely said. There was a very beautiful example which you said that she wrote a letter. She said that this is my right. I want to be in headscarf, while the surgeon surgery is going on, right?
Well, this is after. She wore her hijab and stuff because she was the head surgeon, so they couldn't really tell her anything. Afterwards, she ended up writing that letter with her lawyer friends, and it ended up that the
She
whole
ended up
rules-
that there are so many people, our nurses and all, that they all are wearing headscarf now. Actually, that's reminded me of one of the situation when someone told me there was a doctor who wanted to look for a job, and he had a beard, because of his beard, he was not getting a job. So someone told him, it's because of your beard, you're not getting a job because you look like so religious, so take off your beard. So he shaved, he shaved his entire beard, tried to look for a job. He went to the same spot. You know what this guy said? He looked at him, where's your beard? It was like, I took it out. He says, I don't like the fact that you took out the beard. He said that. It was not because of that religion, it's because there are few things in qualification which did not give you a job. So people get scared because of the headscarf and beard and hijab and handshake. Oh, I have to be modern. I don't understand the meaning of modernism. It's your own right because there's a constitution law, that's right to religion that you said. You can practice it. It's the fear, because I have been talking to so many youth, they say there's a bullying, so I don't want to wear a headscarf in my school. They say that if you wear a headscarf, you will be out of bullying, There will be a lot of difference. At work, when you spoke about work, you are respected, because when you say, I won't be able to handshake, even before going for an interview, people don't do that. People are scared to lose it. But you spoke about it. You had guts. That's a good example for many people. Emailing again.
Yeah.
So that was good. Now, coming to marriage, I have heard the selection of spouse.
Yeah.
I have heard this, living in the West, I'm from United States myself. I'm an immigrant, not like you, but it's like being over there, like someone told me when I was looking for a spouse. I wanted to get married that time.
Okay.
And they said, okay, if you want to get married, okay, even if you have a headscarf, try to wear some fitting dresses, because I was getting into loose dresses and headscarf. Try to get into fitting dresses. I said, why? I was like, you have to be in loose dress. If you don't wear a fitting dress, you're not going to get a boyfriend. Like, someone is not going to like you. I was like, I don't need a boyfriend. I was like, someone, if they want to like you have to like you with your fitting dress. I mean, or else that boy is going to go out marrying, like having 2-3 girls on the side, and he's not going to choose you. I was like, I don't want that kind of a guy. So now, talking about this situation, selection of spouse, being a hijabi woman, people are scared they are not going to get a spouse. The men are not going to select him, what would be a solution for that?
I mean, well, first of all, as a practicing hijabi, you want to marry someone who actually wants a hijabi girl, like who actually wants to practice as well.
Yes.
So if you're a practicing Muslim, you also want a practicing husband. And so if a guy's looking for a girlfriend, then he won't want you anyway. So I guess that's off. So you want to find someone who's actually looking for a practicing Muslim, because if they don't fear Allah, if they're not practicing, then what's going to stop them from harming you or being mean to you? Like, what is there to stop them?
Exactly.
Right? So it's important to that what type of spouse are you looking for? It's really important. And there's other ways to meet people. Like, people introduce other people. That happens a lot in the community, and you meet people. It's when you wear hijab, it allows you to function in society while maintaining your modesty. So when you go to MSA, I know in MSAs it's very, very normal to meet people, get married in the MSAs all the time.
Very nice. And we would continue with this, but before that, thank you so much for being with us. We'll come back after a short break. Welcome back after a short break with Sister Maria Muaddal, who's even a scholar, and she's from United States of America. We have been discussing about the hijab and the situation that we face in the Western countries, especially in the West, with the youth, with the marriage. But we have been talking about the marriage, right, sister? The question was very simple. If you wear a headscarf, will you get a good spouse?
It's still possible to get a good spouse. Like Allah's the one, He's the sustainer, He's al-Razzaq, right? So marriage, if you look at marriage as a risk, then if we take that in consideration, you know that He's the one who will give you the spouse regardless of your hijab or not. So first, let's take that in consideration. That's one. And two is that as a Muslim hijabi, as a Muslim woman who practices hijab, you still function in society. The hijab allows us to function in society while maintaining our dignity and respect,
yes,
and our modesty. So when you go to school, I know a lot of Muslims who get married through the MSAs, through the Muslim Student Associations, or the TMAs, or
they
the masjids.
They find a spouse in the university with a Muslim.
It happens.
Right? Yeah.
It happens. I know, like the MSAs is very known for them the youth to get married within.
Actually, it's very nice. It's a very good thing.
Alhamdulillah, it's good. At least they're able to find a good spouse via the MSA. So, I mean, a lot of people get introduced to the masjid. A lot of people, I mean, we still function in society, so people will still see you. And inshallah, you can get married through, like, people introducing each other or seeing other people. It happens, right? So it's not a barrier for marriage, for sure.
So for sure, the spouse has been chosen by God. It's not by us, because in the Quran it says we have chosen your spouse like yourself. I'm paraphrasing in my own words. Mm-hmm. So we have a spouse, we don't have to worry about it. And we just have to worry about our faith. We have to have a strong faith. We have to be obedient towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mm-hmm. and not have this kind of thinking that if we wear fitting dresses or the guys will be attractive and impressed and choose us as a spouse. No. Basically, if they, if you want someone to marry a hijabi lady, mm-hmm. then he's going to choose a hijabi lady.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't want, it's their own choice. So choosing a spouse is definitely, we have to try for it. At mm-hmm. the end, it's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will be your spouse.
Exactly.
So coming to Islamophobia and what's
mm-hmm.
going on in this world, and the heart goes by like this, oh my God, I have the faith in my heart, but what about Islamophobia? People are going to look at me with
mm-hmm.
hatred eyes. This happens, right?
Yeah.
People question you, and people, and how do you deal with this Islamophobia, wearing a headscarf? This fear that I have within my heart, I can ask you, how to deal with Islamophobia while wearing hijab?
Again, as I said, it's important to know your rights and know the rules and the regulations. It depends on what you're dealing with. I mean, if it's just someone bullying you, then you can avoid them, obviously, depending on where you're at. If it's the person doesn't give you a job, well, I mean, I think it's better if you don't work with someone who has Islamophobia issues. But in reality, I think it's a way, when we wear hijab, you're telling people, okay, I'm Muslim, and it gives you the opportunity to educate other people. And I think that's something that's missing in America, where like people don't know what Islam is, yeah. and that what Islam represents. And so it's when the conversation comes up, and I think it's a good opportunity to discuss, speak out,
yeah.
and say, okay, this is what my faith is, this is what it represents, this is what I believe, and explain it to them. And a lot of times it will break the barriers of Islamophobia. I know that there was a case where in a college in Arizona where they, in the material that they were teaching, they were saying that how Islam supports terrorism, like in their exams, like it was in there. And
wow.
So, unfortunately, yeah. And so, like, I know CARE ended up filing suit for that. So I think it's important to stand up when you see Islamophobia happening, like to stand up and speak your rights.
Stand up, yeah.
Stand up, speak your rights, and
don't be quiet.
No, don't be quiet. It's very important to speak out, and it's an opportunity. Don't let those opportunities pass by. You only get them so many times. So it's important to let people know. Let your neighbors, when you interact with your neighbors, they understand. Okay, this is a Muslim person. Like, we're good people. We don't mean harm, and you can educate them and let them know, okay, this is our beliefs and
educate people. For that, you
Yeah.
have to educate yourself first.
For sure,
That's very
inshallah,
important.
yeah.
How to answer them, because they have questions. They
Yeah,
have
exactly.
been, brainwashed by the media. They have to know, because I know I have been watching these videos. Any kind of racism that's happening, or Islamophobia, and any kind of discrimination. People are just picking up the cameras. If they feel insecure, they are picking up the cameras, videotaping that.
Yeah.
And that's coming in the news. You
Yeah.
can make a YouTube channel. You can post it on the YouTube. Go to CAIRE, CAIRE, I would say it again, but don't be quiet. If you're quiet, what happens is that you're just going to say, oh, just because I'm being bullied, I don't want to wear a headscarf. Okay, I think parents should be the biggest support for the youth.
Yeah.
Because if the parents come and say, these are the questions, like when you were 9, people were asking you questions, who taught you the answers? Your dad or your mom, right?
Yeah.
You knew how to speak out because of them. That was your inspiration. That was your your role model. So that's why you came to know how to answer them. With time you have to learn yourself so that you can teach the other. They have questions. They don't have the answers. They don't have the knowledge. Answer them. So no, don't just escape the situation. I would definitely agree with whatever you're doing. Now coming to being feminine, whether you're at school or a job or university, or especially at the work, the career level, you're talking about everyone, most of the ladies are career oriented, right? Being career oriented, does hijab go against being feminine?
So we have hadith that human beings are a manifestation of Allah's attributes. So there's 2 types of attributes that Allah has. One is the jalali attributes. Those are the attributes of manifestation of power, qudrat, power, might, izzat, honor. These are the attributes that men typically manifest, or are supposed to manifest it more. Like if you ask a little boy, what do you want to be when you grow up? They'll say a policeman, a firefighter,
or maybe a Spider-Man.
Yeah, right? What does those characters represent? Might, strength, right?
Yeah.
So we see this in little boys, right? And for girls on the opposite side, what about girls? What do little girls say when you ask? Barbie doll, Cinderella, or I don't know what's
beautiful.
Something that's beautiful, right?
Yes.
And it's because women are supposed to be a manifestation of Allah's jamali attributes, His beauty,
Yeah.
His attributes of beauty. So that goes for Latif, Kareem, Rab, Rububiyat, as in lordship, that which is nurture, right? Because as females, we are by our biology, we are made to be mothers. So we have to be able to nurture. So we're supposed to manifest those attributes. Now, when we cover ourselves, we're covering the manifestation of our beauty, and we reserve that specifically for the home, for our husband and for our mahram. And so when we use that specific aspect to ourselves to empower our marriages, it's a power that Allah has given us to help us in our marriage, to strengthen our family, and it's not supposed to be meant for everywhere. They say there's power in sexuality. It's true, there is power in sexuality, but what Allah asks us to do is to use it specifically in the right place and time. And so that's where it's reserved for. So it doesn't mean that it covers our femininity. We cover our beauty, but it still allows us to be feminine, but in the right place, and show our beauty in the right time and place.
We are like a pearl in a shell, protected.
Yeah.
It's like example of a candy. One person was offered 2 candies, one wrapped up, one without wrapped up. What would you choose? You would choose someone which is wrapped up, right? And taking this beautiful examples as a woman. So the feminism that we talk about is that we think, especially coming from media. When you're watching Bollywood film or Hollywood film, looking at the actresses, it's an inspiration, right? But being a kid, you're looking at Rapunzel, you're looking at Tangled, Frozen ones. You have the picture of beautifying the lady is something which has a beautiful figure. She has a walk, she has a hairstyle, she has the eyes and the beauty. So this is how we grow up.
Yeah.
When we grow up, when we are in our teens, we would like to show that beauty as a feminine.
Yeah.
So the question that comes, people who are really showing that kind of a picture, then you look at the lady who's covered from top to bottom, and then question, wow, as a girl, I would like to show my beauty. This is not, she's also a girl. Poor girl, she's unable to show it. Is she oppressed? Is it a taboo in her culture? Parents don't allow her? Husband don't allow her? That is the first point that comes, sister. Because of that, people come up with the questioning and they do not know the answer. They are doing in obedience with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the question comes. Because the woman is wearing hijab, is she oppressed? Is this a discrimination? Is she going through a discrimination? So what is the answer for that?
It's important to realize that when we're discussing like the hijab, it's actually mustahab for women to beautify themselves inside the house. It's mustahab for her to put on makeup, to do her hair, to do all these things, and Allah gives her sawab for it when she does it in the comfort of her home and in front of her husband. So
for her husband?
For her husband, yes. And for even for people who are not married, for girls who are not married, they can do that in their household, in front of their fathers and for their brothers. Like it's okay that they're allowed to do that. And and to want to be beautiful, that's normal, that's natural, that's the fitra talking. So that's something that we should be there. It's a healthy thing. It's not something that we should say, oh, this is bad. No, this is a good thing. It's a healthy thing. And it just shows that the fitra is working. It's at play. And so in terms of her, the question comes up, well, does this discriminate? And it's no. The answer of it's no, because in a sense that you're Allah's giving you the opportunity to be in society without allowing anyone to judge you based on the way you look, rather judge you based on your character and your actions. And so it's a beautiful thing. And as I said, like the hijab often causes other people to respect you and to abide by certain boundaries. So it's actually a powerful tool that Allah's given us as females to be able to be in society and still maintain our dignity at the same time. And so it's a beautiful thing that it's a blessing, honestly.
So I remember this, what Imam Khomeini, he said, may Allah bless his soul, he said that if the women come to know what's going on in the head of a man, they would cover themselves in an iron shield. These are very strong words. Being a man, he's speaking about like men. Like if the man is looking at you, you want to show your beauty. It's the very natural nature of a woman, right? But if you come to know what a man is thinking about it, you would just end whatever you're doing, cover yourself in an iron shield. These are strong words. Their thinking is totally different than the thinking of a woman, because a woman just wants to beautify herself and she wants to be praised. She's vulnerable, right? The woman has nature is like that. She's looking for compassion and love and caring. If you just ask a woman what exactly you're looking from your husband, she said love. Without love, can you survive a marriage or relationship? She said no. She can't tolerate that. She get emotionally touched, So that's the reason that we have to understand the nature of a woman. We have to understand the nature of a man. Then we have to understand the real meaning of hijab, the covering, how it is actually going with all the beautiful rule, how it's protecting us, creating a respect for us and everything. So hijab is really very important, the covering. Me who grew up in different country like India, a non-Muslim country. Then I migrated to America. Definitely there were all people most of the people were non-Muslims, right? Full of Bollywood, Hollywood over here. So definitely you're encouraged to be without hijab, to show your beauty. It is very attractive. So how can you come towards hijab? It's very simple. Know the hadith, know Bibi Fatima Zahra Salamullah Alaiha, know the meaning of Quran, know the world, know the shaitan, then you will know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we have to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time, right, sister? So that is why hijab is very important for us. That's the reason you, being raised even in America, you chose to come to home, Iran, to study Islamic seminary. You wanted to know your religion. You were so desperate, what is my religion all about? And you ended up doing your bachelor's and you're doing your master's. You're a scholar, a young scholar, mashallah, and there will be a lot of guidance for a lot of people with you with so many problems. We will talk about so many problems, issues of youth, girls, issues of women. We will come up slowly, one by one, do topic. We will get into the topic of selection of spouse and marriage in detail, inshallah, in future. We'll talk about it. Thank you so much, dear viewers for, being a part of this show and, going with this interesting episode where we were talking about the women and their issues and problems. Stay tuned for coming exciting episode with us on the Women Platform. With me, I'm your host, Sister Zeenat, and I would like to thank the young scholar, Sister Maria Muadil. Please stay tuned. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.